Welcome to TechSQL. This is a second session on SQL Server 2012, and as you know, in the first session we saw how SQL Server 2012 is really good in terms of scalability, manageability, availability, programmability, and security across the enterprise. In this session, we are going to start an exciting feature which is new in terms of programmability. SQL Server 2012 Sequence User-Defined Object. SQL Server 2012 introduced a new user-defined object for the database, that is sequence. The sequence generates numeric values in an ascending or descending order at a defined interval. Sequence is a separate user-defined object, and it's not associated specific to any table like an identity column we saw in previous versions. The default data type for sequence object is big integer, though you can define it as tiny integer or other numeric data types. But let's say if you don't specify any other data type, then it will get default data type as big integer. Sequence can be also configured to cycle or restart when it reaches to max value. You can create and manage sequences through the programmability node under database in SQL Server Management Studio. Let's go through the example where we are going to create sequence in SQL Server 2012. Let's go ahead and create a sequence called as TechSQL01. Okay, it got created successfully, and we will need a table to insert those sequence numbers. So create table SQL table 1, column 1 big integer default. We'll use the default next value for test sequence 01, and column 2 as char 1. So let's go ahead and create the same. It's done. We'll create one more table which I want to show you what happens when you don't use the default value with the sequence. Now let's go ahead and insert the values in SQL table 1 table. So we have inserted 3 rows and column 2 as ABC, and we are going to see what kind of data got generated. We'll insert the rows in second table also, SQL table 2. Now let's go ahead and see the data. Okay, now we can see the numeric values in series got generated for SQL table 1 through the sequence test SQL01, and those values are 1, 2, and 3. Let's see what happened with the second table. Second table got the values after 3, that is 4, 5, and 6, where sequence was already incremented. Hope this video was useful to you. Thank you. So before we conclude with sequences, let's see a very interesting attribute of sequence, that is cache. So what is cache management, and what is cache option while creating sequences? What happens to sequence next value when database engine restarts? What is no cache? So let's understand everything one by one. So let's start with cache management. So to improve performance, SQL Server pre-allocates the number of sequence numbers specified the cache argument. So for an example, a sequence gets created with a starting value of 1 and cache size of 15. When the first value is needed, values 1 through 15 are made available from memory. The last cached value 15 is returned to the system tables on the disk. When all 15 numbers are used, the next request for number 16 will cause the cache to be allocated again. The new cached value 30 will be returned to the system tables. And let's say if the database engine is stopped after you use 22 numbers, the next intended sequence number in memory is 23, which is returned to the system tables, replacing the previously stored number. After SQL Server restarts and a sequence number is needed, the restarting number is read from system table 23. The cache amount of 15, which is 23 minus 38, is allocated to memory, and the next non-cache number 39 is returned to the system tables. And let's say in case database engine stops abnormally for an event such as a power failure, the sequence restarts with the number read from system tables 39. Any sequence numbers allocated to memory but never requested by user or application are lost. This functionality may have gaps but guarantees that the same value will never be issued 2 times from a single sequence object unless it is defined as cycle or is manually restarted. What is no cache? Setting the cache argument to no cache writes the current sequence value to the system table every time that a sequence is used. This might slow down the performance by increasing disk access, but reduces the chance of unintended gaps. Gaps can still occur if numbers are requested using the next value for or SP sequence get range functions, but then the numbers are either not used or are used in uncommitted transaction. Hope this tutorial was helpful in understanding sequence object in SQL Server 2012. Thank you.